Greetings from LA, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our journey, our discussions, our discoveries, and our explorations with respect to the recent releases made by the Criterion Collection during this year of 2023. And that brings us to a collector set, which we have already actually been discussing in terms of the films that are included here, or so far anyway. And this is a set which is given the collectively the spine number of 1186. And the set is this. It's a 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo set, which is known as the RANOWN Westerns, 5 films directed by Budd Boetticher, starring Randolph Scott. And so, as the title or the subtitle suggests, there are indeed such 5 films directed by such director and starring such actor. And one such film is a film that is described as being from the year 1959, and it's part of this set. And it indeed stars Randolph Scott and is directed by Budd Boetticher. And the name of this film is Ride Lonesome. This is the work which is from the year 1959, and it is produced and directed by Budd Boetticher, executive producer Harry Joe Brown, director of photography Charles Lawton Jr., and written by Burt Kennedy. And among its great cast, we have Karen Steele and Pernell Roberts and James Best, James Colburn, Lee Van Cleef, and of course starring the one, the only Randolph Scott. Ben Brigade is his name, the character's name in this film, which is a real stunner and one of my favorites in the RANOWN Western cycle. It could be, in fact, my favorite. This is Ride Lonesome. Oh, what a film this is. What a powerful and absorbing film this is. And it's so much at once. It is a jam-packed action entertainment Western with a lot of action scenes, and the action is done so well and the stunt work is done so well, and everything has a type of weight to it because of the way that the characters are so absorbing. And speaking of that, we are introduced right off the bat immediately to this barren landscape of the outdoors, sort of rocky landscape that is part of the Western genre in the hands of Boetticher and Company. And entering into this is a sort of lone figure. And this lone figure, we understand, is the Randolph Scott character, the Ben Brigade character. And we also understand that we have him immediately carrying out his role as a type of bounty hunter on the side of the law, in a manner of speaking, as he apprehends a criminal right off the bat, or he attempts to. And that's part of the impetus of the film, because as we wander with him and his quote-unquote captured prey, we also come across a number of characters that also may or may not have a sort of vested interest in this particular bounty and bringing this criminal to justice, and whether those characterizations may bring with it a type of maybe unspoken rivalry between the heroes of this piece. Again, that's also part of the charm and also the suspense and also the tension that Budd Boetticher and Burt Kennedy and others bring to the table. You also bring into the mix the character portrayed by Karen Steele, and as this figure, as this woman who is in the frontier landscape. And we see her and what her background is, and how the other people, including Randall Scott, react to her presence. And that brings into it the way in which Randolph Scott's character and Karen Steele's character interact and have a relationship in terms of getting their own backgrounds, and also the way in which action and the idea of different perspectives within this sort of rugged outdoor Western landscape how these are portrayed, again, from the various perspectives that are introduced here, as well as how gender roles and aspects of storytelling and sexuality are portrayed in the hands of, say, writers like Burt Kennedy and Budd Boetticher and Randolph Scott and others. So it's a very interesting group of people that we meet, but we also understand that there's also maybe some other agenda, or maybe some hidden meaning, or hidden maybe agenda or plan or plans afoot. And we're not quite sure what's going on, but that's part of the mystery of this film, Ride Lonesome. What are the motivations of our characters? Why are these characters doing what it is they are doing? Is there something that is going to set us up for maybe a potential double cross or triple cross down the way? What is the significance of, say, the past of the character Ben Brigade and company? What is the significance of the pursuers of Ben Brigade's group that are on the trail? Is it possible for these pursuers to be evaded? Is it possible for our heroes to evade the pursuers, or perhaps they cannot escape being pursued, or perhaps there is another hidden agenda? There is some mystery afoot about what the reason is, or what the actual goals are of our main characters. And again, that's part of the intrigue, that's part of the dilemma, that's also part of the way in which this film hooks us in. And when those revelations are made, and when those essentially bombshells of information presented towards us, it becomes this huge impact of a film, and we see that many things and many symbols that stand in for types of, say, movements, sweeping gestures of human emotion, as portrayed metaphorically in a lot of the images of the Western landscape that we see in the film Ride Lonesome. Everything adopts this sense of meaning that has heightened drama on an operatic scale, and life and death are at stake and at play. And you throw into this the idea of a pursuit, and the showdown, or showdowns as the case may be, that are eventual, that are part of the grammar of the Western dynamic of Budd Boetticher, but everything is almost turned on its head. Things happen, but perhaps things occur in a way that is unexpected and thoroughly surprising, or perhaps totally going against, or totally going towards or against what our expectations may be when watching a Western film like Ride Lonesome. Again, this is a film that goes towards and against the grain at once. This is a film that has a lot of deep-rooted surprises. This is a film that, when you see all the symbolism at play, in terms of, say, let's say trees and fires and winds and the rocky landscape, all sort of the elemental aspects of, say, the Western genre, but they are placed in a way that has a fullness of meaning, almost a sense of deep and really painful sense of tragedy about it, and also the idea of isolation or loneliness that, again, is portraying a psychological landscape that is also very much intertwined with the way that the landscape is presented. You know, the visual cues are very much in keeping with the character and emotional cues, and everything is organic, as everything is feeding off of each other in this great mutual way, and it's always enthralling, always entertaining, always beat for beat, timed to perfection. This is a well-paced, economical film, and part of the great things about some of the supplements and the commentary track too is, again, being reminded of just how economical, just how well-framed and well-paced this is, and that it really goes to the heart of the greatness of the artistry of people like Burt Kennedy, people like Budd Boetticher and Randolph Scott and others, who really know how to tell a story and tell it well, and tell it with a lot of grit and a lot of hooks and a lot of dirt, and also a lot of mystery and cloaked nuance, and also a sense of the unknown in the air, and the high points and the low points and the tragedies and the comedy, and all that is packed in this film. This is such an epic film that is enthralling from the very start all the way to the haunting images of the closing of this, and everything in between. What a grand film this is, deep-rooted in its scope and breadth, operatic in ambition and wholly accessible in terms of the great pedigree, the cinematic pedigree of Budd Boetticher and Company. What a film this is! One of my absolute favorites in the RANOWN Western cycle. This is the film which is Ride Lonesome. The Criterion Collection has released this box set or collector set in this 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo edition. This is the RANOWN Westerns, 5 films directed by Budd Boetticher, starring Randolph Scott. And one such film, I guess the 4th film in this cycle, is Ride Lonesome, and this is described as being from 1959, color monaural 2.35:1 aspect ratio, and it's framed so well. And we'll talk a little bit about the framing when we talk about some of the comments in the commentary track. Oh, this is such a great commentary track. But the presentation, the Criterion Collection's release here is relying on a presentation and 4K restoration. And so the notes can be found about the masters as part of this booklet. And on, let's see, it's page 31. It says about the masters, and I quote, "Ride Lonesome is presented in its original aspect ratio of 2.35:1. It was restored in 4K by Sony Pictures Entertainment. Scanning and digital restoration were completed by Cineric from the 35mm original camera negative. HDR color grading was completed by Sherry Eisenberg at Warner Brothers Motion Picture Imaging. The monaural audio restoration and conform were conducted at Deluxe in Hollywood from the 35mm original DME magnetic tracks. The restoration was supervised by Grover Crisp for Sony Pictures Entertainment." I loved this. I absolutely loved this. Again, I've seen this film. I haven't seen it in the theaters, unfortunately, but I've seen it a number of times, a lot of times on physical media before. But there's just something about how it looks now and the way that the colors just pop out, and the feelings and the images crackle. Let's put it that way. And everything is just vibrant and alive. Not that it wasn't before. But just again, the color schemes seem to be preserved so faithfully, and everything is again, I use the word vibrant. Let me use it here: vibrant and alive. And again, that's, I think, in keeping with the richness of the tapestry. Again, on operatic gestures. All this looks and sounds great. I think overall, so far, I'm very happy with how these films look. And I've had the great luxury of having these films on other non-Criterion releases. For instance, the Indicator release was very famous, a really excellent release that was made several years ago. But this, in terms of the look and feel and sound of the films as they emerge on courtesy of the Criterion Collection here, or the restorations that the Criterion Collection is based upon, really fantastic looking. I am so impressed with this, and Ride Lonesome, I think, is just another standout in this set that is really strong in this department. So Ride Lonesome in this presentation here, it's really a standout. I'm thoroughly impressed with it. And then when we talk about some of the other features that can be found with the film Ride Lonesome, again, we are reminded that this film can be found on the 4K UHD disc, or it can also be found on the Blu-ray disc. So what I have in the machine at the moment is the 4K UHD disc. This is 4K UHD disc number 3. And so it has the films Ride Lonesome and Comanche Station. So I've set it to Ride Lonesome. And when you watch it on the 4K UHD disc, or when you watch it on the Blu-ray disc, in either way, you will have the option of listening to the commentary track as you watch the film. So you can listen to the commentary track when you watch the film on Blu-ray or the 4K UHD. So here, for the 4K UHD, I see the commentary submenu, and it says, "This commentary track, recorded in 2008, features film historian Jeremy Arnold." And then this 2008 commentary track. So if you haven't heard this, this is another great one. And it was great to be able to listen to this again. this is one of my favorites. I think it's great because, again, it provides such great background into the RANOWN Western cycle. I mean, this is a rich world. This is such a rich world, and you have a sense of the people who are really, they know each other, and they're looking out for each other, and about how in terms of, say, the relationship with, say, Harry Joe Brown, and also the relationship with Burt Kennedy and Burt Kennedy's contribution to this, and also the background of Budd Boetticher, excuse me, and how, I mean, these were revealed in other places, of course, as well, but Jeremy Arnold expressed it so well, as well as other people too, but Jeremy Arnold so well in terms of the background and Budd Boetticher's background in terms of bullfighting and horse riding, and just getting to know those details. And those details also emerge as in plot points as well, and that adds to a type of almost integrity of, say, the horse riding scenes. In terms of that as a part of the important nature, or how the importance that's placed on scenes like that in the context of westerns like Ride Lonesome. So, and also the use of the word RANOWN, and how this is a RANOWN production. I think in other places like Taylor Hackford and other film discussions was talking about how maybe the other films prior to this weren't quote-unquote official RANOWN productions. And I think here we have the credits indicating a RANOWN production. So the meaning of RANOWN is also revealed here. It's revealed elsewhere too, but it's also revealed here in a great way. And then also the cinematic artistry in terms of the framing of the landscapes, the depth of the way in which it's reflecting a type of isolation or loneliness, and also a way in which certain shots are framed and certain scenarios are framed as a means of almost filming in an economical fashion, and how information is so economically revealed just by certain setups that are repeated in a very brilliant way. And it's almost it's almost invisible just how brilliant some of these setups are. And that's why Jeremy Arnold's, I think, commentary, and indeed the commentary tracks and other introductions by other artists and admirers of the Boetticher canon, I think are so great. And also the contribution of Charles Laughton Jr., Buddy Laughton, as Jeremy Arnold says here, and the like. So, and discussions about Karen Steele and Karen Steele's relationship, professional and personal relationship with Budd Boetticher, and Randall Scott too, and Randall Scott's very interesting positioning in terms of his acting, and also his finances, etc. So many interesting things here, and also the blurring of the lines between the quote-unquote heroes and the quote-unquote villains. Some of the imagery that's had here, there's a really powerful imagery, and so very, very powerful imagery, and the like, and also the emergence of other actors here, like Lee Van Cleef or James Coburn as examples. He makes such memorable prints, and even some of the details too in the merch. I like how he picks up on the commentary track, say, on some quirks of the performance of Lee Van Cleef, or some quirks of the performance of James Coburn. It's so great. So great. So if you haven't heard this commentary track, now is your chance. This is a great one. So this is the Jeremy Arnold 2008 commentary track. It's been carried over here, and it's part of the great package. So please check it out with the commentary track if you can. It's really wonderful. And now let's turn our attention to the supplements. And if we want to do that, we're going to have to put in the Blu-ray disc. Again, the 4K UHD disc has the film and the commentary track option, but it doesn't have the supplements that are linked to Ride Lonesome. So that's where you're going to have to put in the second Blu-ray disc number 2, and which is what I have now on the machine. And it has Ride Lonesome and Comanche Station. So I've set it to Ride Lonesome, and I've gotten to the supplements menu for Ride Lonesome. And we have 2 supplements, again, linked to Ride Lonesome on this disc. The first of such supplements is an introduction by Martin Scorsese. And this is approximately 5 minutes. So we've seen Martin Scorsese introduce before in the context of this set. and indeed other releases. But here we have this again, or it's made available again in this 5-minute introduction. It's called an introduction, but of course it may be worthwhile to watch this after you've seen the film. But it's a great one, and Scorsese, I think, provides this so well. For example, the way in which the widescreen is used, 2.35 to 1, and this is it's so grand and majestic, and then also it's used to heighten the isolation even more, which I think is a great technique that Scorsese comments about. Oh, this is so great. And speaking of the isolation and the loneliness, I love how Scorsese reminds us about how this is a film that seems almost to be handling this theme in the context of creating or reminding us or reimagining a type of American mythology, and American mythology linked to the loner or the loneliness, and how this is also picked up in a number of other westerns, a number of other non-western films. He quotes Taxi Driver as well as a great example of that. I think it's a great example, and also the way in which this film sets up these western action set pieces linked very closely to modes of psychological catharsis. And there is so much catharsis going on. This is very cathartic, and it's the catharsis is expressed in these vivid images that are very much part of the Western genre, that are very much part of the action-adventure mode. And so you're getting everything at once. You're getting an action-adventure film that is filled with a lot of these tense emotional beats, that is also very much part of the sort of psychological landscape of the characters. That's also linked to a sense of American mythology. That's also linked to a sense of the breadth of, say, this type of the cinema of loneliness, in a manner of speaking. Oh my goodness, what a great set of comments, as always, from Scorsese. But here's another example of that. So this is the introduction by Martin Scorsese. Again, it's approximately 5 minutes. And then we have the trailer, which is the second of the two supplements linked to Ride Lonesome. It's a very good trailer. Please check it out if you can. So once again, it might look on paper to be very low in terms of quantity of supplements, at least linked to Ride Lonesome. We've seen this pattern already emerge with the other films, of course, but we will also talk about the separate supplements-specific disc that's also part of the set, again, in a separate video discussion. But for now, those are what we have. And also, don't forget the commentary track, which is also made available in the context of this film, released by Criterion here, Ride Lonesome. And then let me now speak very quickly about the booklet, or at least the Ride Lonesome specific writing that's part of this. We will speak about the context of the box set and the cover art design, and also the comprehensive writings of this great staple booklet in a separate video. Let me just point out that on page 10 and 11, or pages 10 and 11, we have the Ride Lonesome specific writing, which is the plot synopsis type of writing on this side, together with the title, and also information about the year and the running time and the aspect ratio, etc., and the sound. And then on this side, and then we have the middle, we have a still scene, and then we have on the other side here on page 11, the cast and credits breakdown. And I like the red motif, the use of the color red motif. You've seen how colors are used here in the Blu-ray menu, and also the previous 4K UHD menu, and also the booklet. So that's very interesting. Once again, it's very pleasing to the eyes as well. Once again, we will talk about the rest of the sort of comprehensive writings and the way this looks. Really great, by the way. We'll talk about that in a separate video discussion. But for now, that is Ride Lonesome as part of the set overall, the RANOWN Westerns, 5 films directed by Budd Boetticher, starring Randolph Scott. Again, this is one of my favorites. It could be my favorite one in the set. I love this film. Again, I love its punch. I love its unexpectedness. I love the way it goes for it. It really goes for it, and it attains it so magnificently and so confidently. And by the time you watch this film, it almost transcends to another level. It's that mind-blowing. So, oh my goodness, Ride Lonesome. Ride Lonesome. If you haven't seen it, my dear friends, you're in for a treat. Ride Lonesome is part of this set, which is the RANOWN Westerns, 5 films directed by Budd Boetticher, starring Randolph Scott. All right, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, And please keep on watching a lot of great movies, including Ride Lonesome, including other films in the RANOWN Western cycle and beyond. Until the next video, my dear friends, stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.